What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Boleros. Sam here with the Sultan of Sando, Mr. Gablim, and the Prophet, Mr. Maui Yap. Welcome back, guys. Parang kaka-record lang natin, ah. Actually, kaka-record lang talaga natin.
Napasarap yung usapan natin eh. Boleros is back again.
Boleros is back again. If you don't know what we're talking about, this is part 2 of our Ballers and Boleros of the season episode. First part, we talked about all our ballers of the season. So for the second part, we're going to talk about our Boleros of the season. Sana wala dito yung favorite team or players nyo. But before that, let's talk about our sponsor for today. Kasi baka meron pang hindi nakakabili ng regalo for Christmas. Gab, let's convince our listeners to buy some shirts.
Yes. Kung di pa kayo nakakabili at kung may FOMO pa kayo on those championship shirts that the De La Salle Green Archers were wearing while they were celebrating their championship, get yourselves some championship shirts from Varsity Lifestyle Co., the sponsor of Boleros this season, and the UAAP licensed merchandise. Okay, the official licensed merchandise of the UAAP. And if you want to get a bunch, you can get 10% off your order if you use the code Boleros upon checkout. We were so happy. Yung people were saying that unusable na daw yung voucher code dahil marami na daw yung bumili. But we fixed it. We got word from VLC that they fixed it, so you can buy again. The shirts are back in stock. They were hot selling right after the De La Salle Green Archers won the championship. So go to the website of Varsity Lifestyle Co. It's in the description down below. Add to cart your championship shirts or other merchandise that you want to purchase. And right before you pay, you input our code Boleros in the discount code section, and you can get 10% off your order. All right? And if
by the way, hindi lang yung championship shirts ha. So pwedeng any Varsity Lifestyle Co. t-shirts for any of your favorite teams, yung mga friends, family, loved ones nyo na fans of a UAAP basketball team, you can buy them a shirt. Also, we also have Get Blued custom jerseys. You can also use our voucher code for that.
Oh, actually, someone asked if you want to get a Mason Amos Ateneo jersey made, I think pwede. Kung gusto nyo lang kami asarin, mga Atenista or mga family members or friends ng mga Atenista, magpagawa na kayo ng Amos jersey. Asarin nyo kami. Go ahead. 10% off is also available there by using our code Boleros upon checkout. Check out the link in the description below. As I was saying, if you want samahan ng Boleros Cap ang Christmas fit nyo, ang Christmas gifts nyo, these are still available. A lot bought yung the past 2 weeks. Thank you for those who purchased our caps. You're really helping us out. And if they're still in stock, check out the link in the description and in the pinned comments and get yourselves a Boleros cap. Again, school neutral. Sorry, walang green for those Asalians who are asking kung merong green. Wala, I'm sorry. We wanted school neutral. So pink, beige, and dark brown still available.
Okay, let's get started. So let's talk about our Boleros of the season. And this time, I want to start with the Prophet himself, Mr. Maui Yap. Sino ang
I think I know where he's going with this.
I'm curious.
I don't think you know. I mean, we just talked about parity, diba, being the biggest winner from our previous episodes of Ballers of the season. And I have to say, when you get a season like the UAAP Red Warriors had, a 0-14, itlog, di man lang nakaisa, I think we have to include you in our Boleros of the season. To top it all off, their coach, Chris Gavina, was suspended multiple games. Si Welo Lingo was suspended multiple games. So many things happening when it came to the UAAP Red Warriors. The only thing that can salvage I think the season that UE had is if si John Abate will get a contract abroad. In my opinion, that's the only thing that can salvage how ugly it was to witness a 0-14 season from this UE Red Warriors. If you were a UE fan, the past season and a half was probably the hardest, even harder than the struggles that they've had the past decade or so. So much promise after that 5-2 start no season 87. Then everything just went crashing down. Even when they changed coaches, even when it's a new season, still the same heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. So I cannot even phantom what the UE Red Warrior fan is feeling right now. They were starting to pack the arena. I think even si Paul Lee was starting to watch games, di ba? The legends of a school is usually the barometer, di ba? When a school is starting to turn the corner and
Yung when you're back. When you're back.
when you're back, yeah, ano naman sa when you're back, when you're back, and it's so hard. I cannot even say things to justify how a UE fan will continue to support this team this coming season. They have to have a turnaround season, multiple seasons in a row, not just one half of a season for them to recover from this heartbreak. Grabe. I cannot imagine. Diba we've been saying the past few years, Momoe will be one of the best FSAs in UAAP history or is a good FSA. And yet they're at their lowest of low like right now on a year that he was supposed to probably start peaking. 0-14. I don't know if si Coach Chris will still be the coach next season. I don't know, to be honest, what the UE Red Warriors lineup will look like next season. I think I saw in social media nag-open tryout sila. Maybe they get some diamonds in the rough. Maybe they get the next Ray Remogat. Hopefully that whoever that next guy would be will not move to another school. Parang si Magat, 'di ba? So Maga. So so much to hate, so much to feel disappointed. I think UE is definitely my bolero for season 88.
I had UE as one of my boleros also. I think you mentioned a lot of the things that I wanted to point out. Minalas din because actually they had a couple of close games. They had their chances, especially with Ateneo. But they also lost John Abate early, parang end of the season, diba? So he didn't get to play Abate, sorry. He didn't get to play the last few games, and obviously he was a crucial part of that team. I think what's worse, actually it started out bad also for UE. You mentioned losing Maga. They also lost si Fikes. Kasi yun yung mga key players nila from last season. They lost their coach, they lost Magal, they lost Fikes. And then they ended, yun nga, losing John Abate to injury.
Hunter Cruz Dumont
Tapos, Hunter
also
Cruz
left.
Dumont also left. Tapos, they lost John Abate to injury. Obviously, he's ineligible na. So, who's going to replace John Abate? You know what's worse is yung mga players that are still eligible, specifically like a guy like Precious Momoe. After the season, they asked him, diba, after their last game, hindi, non-committal siya. He's not sure if he wants to come back to the Red Warriors next season. So, what are they going to look like for next season if Momoe doesn't come back or even the other star players decide not to return? Siguro yung silver lining lang if I were to pick one is um, I know their juniors team is good. Yung junior high school team nila, I think nag-MVP yung FSA nila doon or something like that. So, not sure lang kung they will go to the Red
Uy,
Warriors.
hindi
Hindi
That's
FSA
another
yun.
question. Ay,
Hindi
Local
FSA
yun.
yun sa amin.
local pala
Local
yun.
yun.
Local, sorry.
Pero yung
Local,
pangalan
tama,
niya,
tama.
kasi I
Parang
understand
foreign yung
why you
pangalan,
would,
di ba? Yeah.
parang yung parang African yung name, something you won't expect, like something like God's love,
Yeah, tama. Uh, I'll do a quick Google. But Gab, yeah, anything you want to add before we move on to your bolero?
Uh, add to add to their Bolero season, the John Abate yung John Abate thing is an additional confusing part for us in the media, because last year they all corrected us that it's not Abate, it's Abate, and now this season, no, it's not Abate, it's Abate. You add that to their pick for Bolero of the season, because that was very confusing for us. But yeah. uh, 0-14. I think that's a pretty obvious Bolero of the season. Add to that their most painful loss, and that the game they almost won was the game against LaSalle in the first round. I think they were up by 20 plus points. Lingo was hot. Then Lingo was ejected. Then Lingo was suspended. And then Jacob Cortez, got so hot along with Earl Abadam, and they lost a 1-point game in overtime. Yeah. After that, the game that Sammy almost jinxed in the first round against the Ateneo Blue Eagles, where they almost won. They had a Lingo 3 that brought them up by 2. And then, by 1. And then, kay Manny Ladi yung hit a shot yung on the other end to give the win to the Ateneo Blue Eagles. Painful.
Grabe yung
painful. Oh.
I have to say lang, Gab, because you reminded me, grabe yung potential butterfly effect, no? If they won that game against LaSalle. Who knows what would have happened?
Yeah, who knows if Coach Topex will still be coaching the LaSalle Green Archers after losing to the UE Red Warriors in round 1. Diba? That could have been a potential effect of that win. Diba? Mongwei had 40, remember? In that game. He was giving it to Mike Phillips in that game. He had 40 plus points. But yeah, it was all downhill from there. They just could not scratch a victory. You add to that all the losses to their roster from last season, and sakit. I do remember that game, Ateneo versus UE. I watched it live in season 87, the first round. The UE crowd was back. They were back, legit back in the arena. And as you said, Maui, the old alumni of the UE Red Warriors, they were coming to watch them play because they were winning. And then they just faltered, and it was very tough to watch. This season was very tough to watch. So they have some bright spots, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, see, Dylan Despy looked pretty good towards the end of the season. Hopefully he'll stay and possibly become one of the main options for next season. Mamaway, again, we're not sure, but in my opinion, they should move on from Mamaway. I think I don't know. I started out as a fan, now I'm not anymore. I mean, tough season for UE. Draco Wheely is a one and done. Probably, he had some good moments, but overall was not the guy he was talking himself up to be, and the UE fans were talking him up to be. But sakit.
Sorry, just one last note on the Red Warriors. If you count, kasi si Maui, he talked about a season and a half. If you count the second round of last year, they're 1-20 so far. Or they lost 5 straight. They lost against LaSalle, won against NU, and then they lost 5 straight. So they've lost 19 straight ngayon. So 19
Going
straight
for the
losses.
record!
So it's tough. Yung 1.5 seasons na.
Ano nga ba yung record? I think it was held by UP, di ba? Was it held by UP?
Maybe.
I'm not sure. Comment down below if alam niyo yung losing streak record. Okay, Gab, let's go to your next Bolero.
My Bolero pick, I'm gonna go with the championship or bust teams. And there are 3 of them. The UP Fighting Maroons, the UST Growling Tigers, and the NU Bulldogs. Siguro we can discuss this more in length because those are 3 picks that I made. First, the UP Fighting Maroons. Obviously, defending champions. A high payroll, quote unquote. And championship expectations for this season. Stacked roster. Lost their first 2 games, but came out firing yung right after that. Only lost 2 more games to the De La Salle Green Archers in the elimination round, but beat everyone else. Had Noire Mogat, had the Maroon 4 plus one because Jaja Felisilda is just there for the ride. He's the plus one. And just they expected a championship. I don't think there's no other way to sugarcoat that. They were expected to
Championship
win.
or bust.
Yeah, championship or bust teams. And the fact that they didn't close it out, the fact that Harold Alarcon choked, Noirimo got choked in the end game of Game 3, I think you have to give them a partial bolero of the season. No, not partial. A real bolero of the season. Again, you expected championship with a lineup this stacked, diba? With so many talented players on their team, you expect a championship. And with the way they played, I think for majority of the season, you come into the finals, you expect a championship. There were some UP fans who expected a sweep of the De La Salle Green Archers. I think there's a long argument in our comment section about that. Diba? Both teams expected sweeps, diba? So
Nag-away-away pa yan.
nag-away-away, ang daming trash talk na nangyari. We love that, by the way. Just keep it civil, but we love that. Yeah, so I don't think that needs further explanation. The UP Fighting Maroons definitely a bolero of the season. They didn't achieve their goal, and their goal was a championship. Same thing with the UST Growling Tigers. Let's look at all the players that are leaving due to graduation. Nick Cabanyero, Forsky Padrigao, Kyle Paranada. Those are a lot of shots to yung that's going out the window. A lot of usage that's leaving this USC Growling Tigers roster, and that's their top end talent. So with a top end talent like that, they expected championship or bust. They had a bit of a losing streak in the middle of the season, but if you watch them in the early part of the season, beating UP, beating LaSalle, beating Ateneo in triple overtime, diba? If you're a USD fan, you expected them to make the Final Four, to battle for a top 2 seed and to make the finals. I don't think they're full on rebuilding. They still have some pieces there that are left over. Mark Liemet, Jello Crisostomo, but with the talent that they had and with the expectations that they had, especially coming up a Final Four appearance last season, championship or bust dapat sila. With Nick Cabanyero playing the way that he did this season and the way he did in the Final Four and their one MVP level si Nick Cabanyero, and with Collins Akowe arriving and being the beast that he was.
MVP level din.
Yep,
Two
MVP level din.
caliber players on the team. Yeah, that's a good point.
Wala na yung crowd favorites, Gab, ng UST next year.
Wala na nga.
Eco Laure and Lela Destasio are gone.
Sorry, I forgot about si Eco Laure and si Lela Destasio, but yeah, they definitely expected to win. They had a stacked roster. Some of the best top end talent in the UAAP, in Forsky Padrigao, Nick Cabanyero, and Collins Akowe, and heck, even one of the best 6 men in Kyle Paranada, yung coming off the bench. So the fact that they failed to make the finals and did not make the Final Four makes them a bolero of the season. NU Bulldogs, need I explain more? They were the number 1 seed. Only 3 losses, 11-3. Jake Figueroa playing
loss, they gave away pa, diba?
The other loss, yep. It was a game that did not matter to them, so count it as a scheduled loss because it didn't matter anymore in the standings. But yeah, Jake Figueroa playing at an MVP level, Omar John playing at a defensive player of the year level. He was great this season. Might have been a baller if not for them exiting early. But yeah, number 1 seed, one of the best defensive teams in the UAAP, one of also the deepest teams in the UAAP, and they exit via 2 losses to the De La Salle Green Archers in the Final Four. That is disappointing. Bad end to Jake Figueroa's, Steve Nash Enriquez, and Jolo Manansala's tenure in the NU Bulldogs lineup. There's no sugarcoating it. They choked in the Final Four. They were not able to close out the De La Salle Green Archers. We know the feeling, NU fans, by the way, of Jacob Cortez closing you out. We Ateneans were closed out by Jacob Cortez, but if you ended the season at the number 1 seed, you expect a championship. You expect at least the finals, diba? I think we said
At
it
least the
before this
finals, yeah.
season. This NU team has made the Final Four before, this version of the NU team. And the fact that they were not able to make it to the finals, um, there's a lot of questions to be answered in the offseason. And one of which is Coach Jeff Napa really the right coach for this NU team, for this NU program? We said it.
Lagay mo na sa hot seat.
Good question.
Oh, I think he's definitely on the hot seat. I think for a lot of NU fans,
Second straight season in the hot seat. Last
Is
season
Omar
pa natin
Jan
tinanong yan, di ba?
coming back?
I think last season natin tinanong. Well, last season, parang we gave him a pass sa amin because nawala si Mo Diaz sana eh. So parang, okay, it's a pass for you. But now...
he was considered as one of the candidates to be on the hot seat. So I think that's a trend that we're seeing.
Pwede. But yeah, if you're the top brass of NU, you have to ask, is Coach Jeff really the right guy? We have a stacked lineup where we have a lot of talent on our roster. Is he the right guy? Because he's now failed to reach the finals for three seasons. And season 85, 86, and now 88. You can say that he overachieved. So, ano yung Maui? Sorry.
Baka nag-peak na si Coach Jeff.
Yung baka nag-peak na siya. Maybe he's the Mark Jackson of this NU team. Diba? Maybe they need to look for a Steve Kerr to take them over the hump. So, yeah, those three teams, you definitely expected championship for them in the preseason, and they failed to deliver. Obvious for me that they are Boleros of the season.
Yeah, I like that pick. I had two of the three teams that you mentioned. I gave UP sort of a pass kasi nag-finals pa rin sila, one game away from winning the championship. I know the expectation was championship or bust. I do get that, where you're coming from. But I did put UST and NU as sort of Boleros. Again, it was a successful season for them, but yung expectations kasi, diba? I think just to add for UST, expectations were extra high because they were sponsors of the season. So, like, people were really talking it up na parang this could also, this is our best chance of winning. And tama naman, diba? And then they were sponsors. So, they had games in UST. The vibes were really good for UST.
Hosts ata sa amin yung tamang term.
Sorry. Not sponsors. Hosts of the season. Tama ka dyan. And I think people were also like, trying to compare to like the previous seasons na, you know, they were sort of underdogs pero they made it to the finals, but they didn't even make it to the finals. I think at the very least, yun yung keyword doon, Gabi, at the very least finals for these two teams. The other team is NU. Again, you're the number one team. You should make it at the very least to the finals, especially with an MVP caliber player as good as si Jake Figueroa. One last thing, by the way, UST, I think I said like halfway through the season na sabi ko, this is going to be the team to beat for me. I picked them to make it to the finals and to be the team to beat.
Marami.
So, very disappointing for me that they didn't even make it. Mau, anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, I think marami. Marami nag-expect sa UST. Actually, when Gab was mentioning that schools, may isa pa akong gusto idagdag, which I'll probably say is honorable mention just because of the expectations. But yeah, with regards to UST, there could be an argument that they have the best player in three out of 5 out of the starting lineup, diba, in the UAAP. Diba, there's an argument that Fortkey is the best point guard. There's an argument that Nick Cabanera is the best 2 guard, the best scorer. There's an argument that Colin Sakoe is a top FSA or even that the best center over Mike Phillips at certain portions of the season. So, yeah, I get the frustration. Siguro kaya si Coach Pido has been in the hot seat, sort of. And with the SMC funding, the SMC sponsorship, also on the rocks. It's not yet confirmed sa news if they're still gonna sponsor UST. They really went all in this season. And I guess the only reason why I probably wouldn't say na Boleros rest because they did not look good at all nung off-season. And they lost one of the best FSAs rin from the previous season. But with how they played nung first round, it really showed that they should be championship contenders. And it was gonna be championship or bust for this team, di ba? And it was they actually had a pretty hard time to get to the Final Four. You could argue that much like Lasal, they clawed their way to the Final Four and had to win some crucial games during the end of the season, despite having top, very top heavy lineup. Let's see where this goes. I'm excited kay Crisostomo, how he can take his game to the next level for next season. For NU naman, yeah, we've said this in the past, di ba? Championship or bust. Finals or bust nga man lang di ba? So, the fact that Coach Jeff wasn't able to get them over the hump, my argument is para sampang twice to beat if you can't get to the finals. Di ba? So, they didn't really achieve anything new this season because that's why you want the twice to beat so you can get to the finals, and that was something that they did not accomplish this season. With UP, I have no comment as a Bolero. I think that yeah, it's championship or bust, but at the end of the day, it's Lasal or UP in the finals. Ang gusto ko lang sabihin is the main reason why I partially agree with Gab is because you can't really remember the runner-up finishes, di ba? You don't count the runner-up finishes. You don't count the number of Final Four appearances, even consecutive finals or consecutive finals appearances, di ba? This is why LeBron gets a lot of criticism for him having more losses in the finals than wins. And so far, UP has that in the Bo Perasol / Golden Monteverde era. So yeah, they could be considered as Boleros. Tab.
How dare you bring LeBron's name into this conversation? Uh,
Oh, it's true. He plays for the Lakers, but I'm not a LeBron fan. Some other conversation.
alam
Saka na to, saka
yeah,
na to.
yeah. I
Ako,
know, bro.
I'm a
Eto
LeBron
si
fan,
Maui, LeBron fan
and
yan.
I still
Yeah.
said that I'm a
That's true.
realist.
Oo. Okay, moving on. Sige, since real talk lang din ang pinag-uusapan natin, I'm going to talk about two other teams actually, and a team close to our heart. The two birds, ang boleros of the season ko, Ateneo and Adamson. So I lumped them together because ang title ko sa kanila yung intro boys, yung Ateneo and Adamson. Ateneo obviously had a great start, going 4-0. Uh, excited tayong lahat.
They were
And
back.
then we said, Ateneo is back. And it just went downhill from there. So, I'm sorry, Ateneo fans. I'm
2
sorry
and
to
8
the
to
Ateneo
win the
Blue
season.
Eagles.
Oh my God.
We cursed the team. But yeah, I would say it was a very disappointing season. I think a lot of the fans were also disappointed, especially with how good we started. Um, we were also so hyped, diba? I think we addressed a lot of the holes or the needs that we had last season. We finally had a solid playable center. Not even just playable, but like a solid center in FSA and Divine Adili. We got bigger with like guys like Kimani Ladi. Hindi na si Josh Lazaro or si Porter yung bigs natin, 'di ba? It was Adili and Ladi. May mga surprises din tayo like guys like sina Dom Escobar, Lazo were
Hindi na si
one and
Kyle
dones
Ong,
that
you
were
mean?
solid. Hindi na si Kyle Ong. Oh. Um yeah.
Samahan nyo kay Kyle.
But unfortunately, yun nga, it did not end well for Ateneo. Kaya intro boys sila. Siguro, obviously, there were injuries, specifically two key players and the most crucial roles, diba? The center, the FSA role. Si Divine Adili had a bad back before the season even started, a day before the start of the season. So that was a huge issue all throughout the season. And Jared Bahay dislocating his shoulder or injuring his shoulder during that triple overtime game. That sort of really sort of impacted talaga the season. That's what went. That's when everything went downhill from then. So um I have to put them as one of the Boleros. Sayang talaga. And sayang because you had a lot of really good players na one and done. So you can't just say, okay, we'll do better next year because those guys are gone, diba? Siguro the silver lining here for Ateneo, we got to sign Coach Tab to an extension. I think we all wanted to Coach Tab to resign
Dahil
with
sa good
Ateneo.
start. Buti
So
na
that
lang.
was a good start for Ateneo. We also got to see the development of their young players. Jared Bahay, before getting injured, was playing out of his mind. Yung clutch threes niya during end game was crazy. I really, really, really liked Waki Espina. His game, you guys have been high on him since his rookie year, pero I think major good developed really well this season. Sean Tuanyo continues to be a star, so may chance pa rin naman for Ateneo fans for next year. For Adamson, intro boys din sila because preseason pa lang, they were winning a ton of competitions. They were beating NU, and NU ended up, Adamson and NU were the top two teams sa mga preseason competitions. We called them like I think they were our preseason ballers actually. Si Adamson and NU, and yun, NU ended up being legit, diba? They were the number one team this season. Si Adamson, they were good during the preseason. We were high on Austin Ronzone. We were so happy for Austin Ronzone nung start of the season.
Maui's boy!
Maui's boy. I think their first game was LaSalle. They almost beat LaSalle. Was it Jacob Cortez who won the game? And beat UP. Imagine mo, LaSalle and UP yung first two games nila, sabi natin, deads tong Adamson. Sure, 0-2 agad. And they came out 1-1, but almost beat LaSalle. So, we were high on Adamson, but Ateneo and Adamson both just ended up 6-8. So, si Adamson, ang minimum natin is like Final Four. Because they always make it, yung battle for Final Four, they didn't even make it that far. So, I think very disappointing season for Coach Nash and the Falcons too. Gab Maui.
Sige, I'll go first, Maui, because I know you want to say a lot about the Ateneo Blue Eagles. Yeah, definitely, Ateneo is a bolero of the season, especially with the way they started out. Mahirap mapaasa. At kaming mga Ateneo fans, and I think a lot of other Ateneo fans, napaasa. Because there was
Huwag
hope.
kagaya sa UE. Baka mamaya mag 0-14 tayo next year.
Sana naman hindi. Sana naman hindi.
Lord.
Kung if there was ever a season na mag 0-14, that was last season 87. Diba? So I don't think na mag 0-14 tayo. Hopefully not, diba? But yeah, mahirap yung mapaasa. 4-0 beating a contender in the De La Salle Green Archers. We held it off. People were asking, is Ateneo back? Our friend Nico Rocha, yung naunahan na tayo, sinabi na niya, yung Ateneo is back. Is Ateneo back? Yung sinasabi niya, diba? Pre-season pa lang. Diba? Sinasabi ni Nico. Kami parang, no. We're not gonna say those
We
words.
waited 4 games. We waited 4 games.
We waited for a big game, diba? Ateneo to beat a big team.
Ateneo to beat one of the contenders in UP or LaSalle before we even said that they were back. And they did beat the De La Salle Green Archers. We said they were back and it was all downhill from there, my boys. And masakit. Definitely, as Sammy said, injuries played a part of it. But a lot of inconsistent play from the Blue Eagles. A lot of choking in the end game. Siguro may halong ano na rin, swerte from the other teams like Joric always playing out of his mind, si Paul Francisco hitting threes, sakit. Just hard to swallow for those losses because you knew they were winnable. And the other thing is this team is likable. Diba? A lot of good pieces, hardworking. they play hard. They grind it out on the defensive end. You know there's some talent there for this team, but they just can't close out games, especially when they were losing a lot. They just couldn't close out games, diba? Against UST, they ran out of gas. Against NU in overtime in the first round, they couldn't get the necessary defensive stops even after taking a lead of a Sean Toano 3. Remember, Sam, we were at your house. We were at your house when you were watching this game. Sean Toano hit a 3 to give Ateneo the lead. We were like, yes!
Yun na yun
yes!
no?
Yun na yun. And then Paul Francisco happened, Then FEU against FEU. We were already leading already. And then Joric happened. We forgot to locate Joric Bautista in the corner. The Mo Konate rebound and a kick out to Joric also. Painful losses. Actually, those were the key losses because those were very winnable. The UST game also, in the second round, we just couldn't hit any shots. We were getting a lot of open looks. We couldn't hit our shots. Siforski, I think, dealt those back-to-back threes to give us the nail in the coffin in those games. Masakit, a lot of painful losses. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that Adamson also had a lot of painful losses. I am the Adamson whisperer, and it also pained me. They had a lot of painful losses. The 2 losses to FEU, very painful. In the end game, they just couldn't close out. Against Ateneo, they were blown out both times. In the second round, they came back against UP. They could not close it out also. Masakit because they had big wins also this season. You talked about it, Sammy. They beat UP in the first round. They beat LaSalle by 1 point in the second round.
UST?
They beat UST in that crazy overtime game, diba? When they came back down 8 in the final minute.
Probably the craziest game of the season.
We'll get to that in our awards. Probably yung nandun yun for Game of the Year. But preseason, I think a lot of Adamson fans expected a lot from this team, at least just to make the Final Four and even be a number 3 seed. We had them number 3 in our power rankings. They were playing so well. And you can't blame them. You have a talented roster. You have talented guards in Matt Erolon and Matthew Montebon and Ray Allen Torres, who we did not mention as a baller of the season. I thought he should have been.
Actually, that's true.
Breakout season from Ray Allen Torres. Great season. So a lot of talented scoring guards, and you have Cedric Manzano, who's a beast down low, even proved himself in the SEA Games, playing crunch time minutes for Coach Norman Black.
Saludo sa'yo. Gold medalist.
If there was another indication that FSAs are indeed good for the UAAP, watch how Cedric Manzano played against taller players. Sanay siya playing against taller players because he's playing against taller FSAs in the UAAP. Playing against a guy like Jesu from Thailand, alam na niya eh. He knows how to position himself. He knows how to grab rebounds. He knows how to get undergo stabs against taller competition. Alam niya paano manggulang? Ang gulang ni Cedric Manzano against Jesu.
Kahit sina Seb Sarmiento at si Larry Fonertier, sabi, bata pa lang to, magulang na.
Yeah, because Sammy, he's faced taller competition already for 5 seasons in the UAAP. Diba? So, the fact that you had a lineup this talented and with a lot of success in the preseason and you failed to make the Final Four, again, you failed to meet expectations, and that's Bolero of the season for you, my Adamson Falcons. And for Ateneo, of course, as I said, napaasa tayong lahat. 3 one and dones are gone. A lot of work has to be done in the off season. So, Bolero of the season, definitely. Maui, I know you have a lot to say about the Ateneo Blue Eagles.
Wala na si Escobar. One of my favorite players for next season. I think a lot of girls would probably say the same.
Fan favorite si Dom Escobar.
Fan favorite si Dom Escobar.
Favorite, yeah.
I'll start with Adamson. Kasi as Gab mentioned, I want to see a lot sa Ateneo side. I completely agree with Gab. I think just to summarize what I think is the reason why they're Boleros is because very high expectations from how they performed the off-season, diba? In some tournaments they beat the top teams. In the tournaments UP and Lasal was not there, they became champions over NE or over even NU multiple times, and I think USD. Very complete ang lineup finally ng Adamson. Adamson was always lacking one or two players to have a competitive 8 to 10 man rotation. This season they had so many weapons. They had interchangeable lineups. Kahit yung point guard rotation lang nila, di ba? You can just see how talented this team is. And they had Manzano, who was playing on his last year, who's been a beast. You can just ask a number of rookie bigs in the UAAP. Ang welcome the UAAP moment nila more often than not is PJ Palacielo or Manzano, and so much high expectations. Diba? The fact that Manzano was considered to play for SEA Games just tells you the talent that he has.
That he was in the rotation, Maui. Yun yung nagulat ako, parang, he's in the rotation, he's the backup.
Diba? He's in the rotation. Just tells you that this team could have been something. But they suffered the same fate as FPU did in previous seasons. I think they started the season at 1-4. When you start the season with such a bad record, you have so much little room for mistake. Diba? So much little room to make errors, and I think that was pivotal in really preventing them to make the Final Four. Ang sakit, I think this is even a lot, sobrang sakit even if they made the play-in, diba? You would expect sayang yung Cedric Manzano time. We always say sayang yung Jerome Lastimosa time in Adamson. I think Adamson will miss Cedric Manzano. Sayang yung that they weren't even getting to the Final Four or were only a play-in team. So, I don't know. Maybe si Coach Nash is now on the hot seat, diba? Kasi you can only get similar results for so much time. Diba? At the end of the day, you want to continue to progress. So, either they find new funding with Coach Nash, or either they move in another direction, diba? And try another different coach. I don't know if that will lead better results. I think that si Coach Nash has been so good in maximizing whatever lineup he has. The talent level this season was just too crazy, in my opinion. And it's the same fate suffered by Ateneo. Diba? Ateneo is so much better. This season 88 team is so much better than that season 87 team. Si Gab mentioned, if there was a season na mag-0-14 Ateneo, it was that season 87 team. And with the upgrades in both the talents that they already had, the development, and the 3-1 and dones, who were all pivotal. Ladi, Lazo, and Escobar were pivotal in their own ways in different games this season. You can't be more disappointed with how the season turned out, especially how it started, diba? 4-0. We were so patient to say Ateneo is back, and yet this happened. Nung second round. It's a bit bittersweet that si Coach Tab was extended, diba? Finally, they can put that to rest. But the season was really disappointing in this one, and you could say a lot of it had to do with injuries. If you're an optimist, diba? As Sammy mentioned, Bahay and Adili are two of the most important pieces. We always talk about the center and point guard position in our podcast, and unfortunately, both of them couldn't get healthy throughout any part of the season after their injuries, diba? It was both season-long things. And if you're an Ateneo fan, that's maybe something to hope for next season. Hopefully, both of these guys are healthy. I thought that si Sean Tuano had a good season. He's probably the one that he showed in development. Him and Ian Espinosa, if you want to talk about development with regards to the current players, both of them really were legit from the off-season to the season. I love how si Sean Tuano was still aggressive. Did not complain despite getting less touches that maybe he expected after the 3-1 and duns arrived. Let's see if players like Gamber can be effective next season. Players like Signeto will be fully healthy for next season. But without a doubt, Ateneo was a big disappointment. I think wala kang makakausap na Ateneo fan or Ateneo Ateneo player that wouldn't be disappointed with how they ended the season, 'di ba? Kasi so much promise. People were saying, is this a championship contender? 'Di ba? After 4 games, after that first half against LaSalle, where they really
We were up by 35.
We were up by 35 against the champion of season 88. I think the second half really started that downward spiral for Ateneo, and I think the end of the first round was such a huge mental toll to the players, into the team. Losing that triple overtime game against UST in our home turf, in the Blue Eagle gym, and losing that overtime game against NU, which we should have won, in my opinion. So yeah, ang hirap. Mahirap maging UE fan, mahirap din maging Ateneo fan, to be honest. And I'm just praying that the downward spiral has ended along with season 88. Hopefully we get a better first round and second round next season. I'm sure Ateneo fans will be skeptical even if we start 4-0 next year, if it happens again. Diba? You will be na trauma na. I'd be skeptical until we get to the Final Four, until we get to the finals again. I don't know if that will be next season. Whenever that will be, that's probably the only time that I would say Ateneo is back.
Na-trauma na tayong lahat sa Ateneo is back na yan. But just a bit of a siguro silver lining. They did play better towards the end of the season. I'm talking about the Ateneo Blue Eagles. We talk about the game against UP, where I think they were leading for majority of the game, na yung nadali lang ni Scary Jerry yung dulo.
Scary Jerry.
The win against Adamson, which I thought was big time. I think the best game they played. And the game against LaSalle, that was an Ateneo LaSalle game. There's nothing like an Ateneo LaSalle game, and the end of the elimination round, Ateneo versus LaSalle, with Jacob Cortez. Cortez again dealing the deathly blow to the Ateneo Blue Eagles. That was magical for me, because the atmosphere was just really, really good. You can see the shades of the classic Ateneo LaSalle rivalry in that game, and Ateneo played really well in that game, except for the end game, Bahay and Lazo choking with their passes, but they played a great game until the final few seconds.
Okay, dami nating nasabi about Ateneo. Ganun talaga. Kailangan i-process yung emotions about this.
We've been waiting for this.
We've been waiting
Tapos
for
na
this.
yung season eh. Tapos na yung season, nagpo-process na ng konti.
Time to process what we went through as a shared trauma. Sige, let's talk about our honorable mentions na Boleros of the season. We're almost hitting 1 hour.
Sige.
Any picks?
Ako muna.
Okay.
Sige. I'll go first now, then you go. I mentioned him earlier. He's the +1 to the Maroon 4. Janjan Felicilda. Whether through injury or not, he had, I think, a nightmare season. He just didn't play. That's the suckiest part of this. This was his last playing year. There were talks in the off season that the Maroon 5 were being considered for, pro contracts abroad, including Felicilda, and he just did not play.
Wala na yun.
Wala na. I don't think he's getting any contract from any pro team abroad. The fact of the matter is, he just did not play. You can say, he was injured, for the season he was dealing with injury. Whether it's injury or not, he just didn't play. Even when he wasn't injured and he came back, he just didn't play. I think he maxed out at 2 minutes. That was it. in a game. And for
Like
your
plus
final
minus
play,
meter na nga eh. Di ba yung mga UP fans?
yeah,
Even the
actually,
UP
my
fans,
UP fan commenters natin, no?
they're calling si John Felicito the plus minus legend. And this was a guy who was a starter over JD Cagulangan 2 seasons ago.
that's so
So,
crazy.
diba? Was a starter yung 2 seasons ago, and when he was in NU, was the main guy. Number 1 option on offense in season 84.
Over Steve Nash.
Diba? Yung over Steve Nash Enriquez, over Jake Figueroa, he was the number 1 option. He was the guy closing games. The ball was being given to him in crunch time. He was the number 1 option. John Felicilda. And to end your UAAP career, your 5th season riding the bench is one hell of a nightmare. Definitely deserving of a Bolero of the season, even if it's an honorable mention. Sad end to a UAP career for Jan Felicilda. I think he's pretty good also. I mean, he's had these moments in the UAAP. I think he's a pretty serviceable point guard. He's a starter level point guard in my
The fact
opinion.
that he started over Kagulangan.
Mhm.
Yeah. It just so happens when you're in a stacked lineup, just like in the UP Fighting Maroons, your flaws become magnified. I've said this with Noire Moga. He may be a very talented offensive player, but you enter a lineup like UP, your defensive deficiencies become magnified. We saw that play out in the finals. Targeted multiple times in 3 games because of his defensive deficiencies. The same thing with Jan. The fact na I think he's a good player, but the fact that he's on this UP roster and his flaws are magnified, such as his size, his lack of a consistent outside shot compared to his contemporaries such as Noire Mogat and Terence Fortea. It's just a bad situation for him this season. You hate to go out that way. And siguro it would have been less painful if they had won the championship, but they didn't win the championship. And he didn't play at all. I don't think he saw, game 1 ata yung naglaro siya ng konti, but games 2 and 3, I don't think we saw him at all, which is crazy for a guy who used to be the starter on this team. The other honorable mention, we have to mention it. The officials, the referees, they did not have a good season. The commissioner's office, sorry, Jai Reyes, I know you used to watch us when you were talking about Asia Basket, but the referees did not have a good season. You go back to the first round, the first few games, and remember the 4-on-5, which they let play out. Adams versus UP. They did not stop the game. They didn't wait for Coach Nash to make a substitution.
That was crazy.
The referees
Nakalimutan ko na yun.
Yeah, the referees from that game were suspended. What else? The Gani Stevens.
The Baklaan injury. Yeah.
The Baklaan injury. Yeah. People were saying, why didn't you call the jump ball earlier? The Gani Stevens punch in the balls to Kaimani Ladi, which wasn't called an ejection. When in the previous games, Boris Marasigan was ejected because of a elbow to Omar John's chest or tummy or chest area.
The McPinisi event.
You pulling off a Mick Penisi and Boris Marasigan, you getting ejected and suspended, but Gani Stevens was not. Then in the next games, EJ Goliena gave a closed fist hit to Francis Noruka. He was ejected and suspended, but Gani Stevens was not, and it was still being pointed out because it was such an obvious punch to the balls, and they did not call it. They didn't even review it yung post game, yung after the game. No notes from the UAAP on that. Obvious, sobrang obvious yung from the replay. What else? The inconsistent calls. Something I talked about for the entire season in some parts. What happened to all the landing spot fouls, which they were calling last season? Ang daming landing spot fouls that I saw that were not being called. And they just disappeared. I don't know what happened to all the landing spot fouls. And landing spot is a dangerous play. Well, guys could get injured. So what happened to all those fouls? What else?
Yung traveling, napalitan ng lane violation.
Yung traveling na palitan ng lane. Although, Maui, I will give them a pass on that because in FIBA competition,
Strategy.
they were still calling that. They were still calling that. They were being strict with lane violations. And if you look at the play, yes, lane violation nga siya because the rule is it has to hit the rim first. And a lot of players really just go in early. So, siguro if you're talking about the letter of the law, the referees were right calling them lane violation. So, it's just surprising that they call it every time siguro. Kaya a lot of fans are taken aback by that. But yeah, marami. I think a lot of fans were angry. I questioned a lot of those. So the referees definitely had a not so good season. Sige,
Tanong
kayo.
mo si
Maui.
Chris Gavina. Si Chris Gavina, maraming masabi dyan. May kasama pang color for language. But yeah, actually, Gab, yung honorable mention ko was really officiating in the league office. So many things happening. But I want to highlight yung suspensions, yung inconsistency. Not just with Johnny Stevens not getting that suspension na sobrang caused a lot of arguments, a lot of heated arguments in social media from fans from all those schools versus UP fans. You have to protect that kasi it could get really dangerous, 'di ba? Pag nagalit ang fans. I think that they were so inconsistent not calling anything, not even an ejection or a technical ba on Stevens, or was a technical called?
Nag-unspo naman sila. They
Unspo.
called an
Unspo.
unsportsmanlike
Pero hindi
foul.
siya ejected.
Pero that should have
Hindi
been an
rin
ejection.
suspended.
Blatant.
Diba?
Blatant.
If we're talking about consistency and you mentioned the two plays that you can look back, diba? Yung Marasigan and Golena plays. Automatic ejection. And they did not address that. And next thing, how do you determine the number of games? I don't think the UAAP even mentioned.
Good question.
Diba? We were so surprised with the number of suspensions, number of games suspended, handed out to some incidents, diba? They didn't even explain why they were given that many games. Even yung suspension ni Coach Chris came after so many days after. I think if I remember correctly. Then bigla na lang madaming games, diba? So I don't know. Did Lingo deserve those many games? I don't know. You asked me, but I thought that the UAP did not handle it correctly. Yung handing out suspensions, and they were so inconsistent. Diba? They were as inconsistent as the calls were on the court with determining how many games you should be suspended. The fact that so many coaches, not just his Coach Chris. Coach Chris was just the poster boy because of that melt. I don't know if it was a meltdown. Maybe it was more of really out of anger. Diba? There's so many inconsistent calls, and the fact that so many coaches were already complaining, not just one or two, really speaks about how much officiating really was so inconsistent in the first round. And when you have inconsistent officiating, siyempre the fans will keep on complaining, which is not good for the league, diba? To the point that sometimes OA na, that they were even questioning, some people were even questioning why teams like Lasal were getting to the foul line so much, why Colin Sacoy was getting to the foul line when in fact those were really fouls, diba? So when you're not consistent, it creates chaos to teams, coaching staffs, and especially to the fans and to the players, diba? They don't know how
How to play the game.
how to play the game anymore, and that could create some chaos. That could create some buti na lang walang suntukan. 'Di ba? I mean maybe that's a silver lining. But there were some players injured because they were not doing their job correctly.
Okay. One final bolero of the season before we end it. I think it has to go to the Boleros. Bolero of the season. Kasi we created another curse. So last season, our curse was yung interview curse. This season, we created another curse. Yung blank is back curse. So, may curse talaga tayo. May malas talaga na nadadala yung Bolero. So, apologies to everyone that we cursed this season. Yeah, yun lang naman yung honorable mention ko. That's it for today's episode of Boleros of the Season. Comment down below your picks for Boleros of the Season. Stay tuned for our next episode. We'll talk about awards of the season. We'll see you again next time. Like this video, share with your friends, subscribe. Bye-bye.